we'll look at dimensioning in paper space. We have the multi-view projections of a solid, as well as an isometric view. I'll start by adding the center line type to the drawing. I could use the line type control, but in this case, I will select line type under the Format menu. Press Load, and select Center. The center line type is now available in this drawing. In addition to that, I will turn on the Dimension toolbar. Before I dock the toolbar, I'll select Dimension Style to set the center mark style. Click on Modify, and under the Lines and Arrows tab, change the center mark type from Mark to Line. Then press OK. Next, I'll open the Layer Properties Manager. I will associate different colors with the different types of layers. I'll start with the dimension layers. So if I click on one, and then hold down the Control key, and highlight the others, I can then associate a single color to these layers. I'll select a dark green. The next thing I'll do is add 3 new layers to put the center lines on. I'll call this layer F-Cen. I'll set the color to magenta. Now I have my layer set up, so I will click OK. You can see the colors have changed according to the colors that I assigned for the different layers. Now I'll add center lines to the different views. I'll start with the top view. So I'll zoom in and activate the viewport by double-clicking on it. Then I'll set the current layer to T-Cen. Now I'll click on the Center Mark tool and select this outer arc. I'll repeat that for the other side. Then for the center line bisector, I will use the Line tool. I'll draw the line from midpoint to midpoint. Then select the line, turn Ortho Mode on, and lengthen it using the grips. Press Escape to deselect. So those are the center lines in the top view. Now I'll double-click outside the view to return to paper space. Then zoom to the extents of the drawing. Notice that the center lines are showing up in all of the views. I'll correct this after I add the center lines to the other views. For now, I'll zoom in on the front view. Then I'll double-click inside the viewport to enter model space. Now I'll activate the F-Cen layer. Again, I'll use the Line tool. I'll snap to this midpoint, and then this one. I'm in Ortho mode, so I can extend the line horizontally past both midpoints. I'll draw another line and create a center line bisector for this hole. I don't have a good snapping point, so I'll enter the coordinates. The distance from the origin to the center of this hole is 75 units. So I'll enter -75 and then -10 to start the line below the x-axis. Then I'll use relative coordinates to enter the other endpoint. I'll make the line 40 units long. Notice that the line doesn't show up as a center line, so I'll modify the LT scale. I'll make it 0.3. And that looks better. Next, I will mirror this line to get the other center line. So I'll select Mirror, pick the line, and then choose the origin point as the first point. I'm in ortho mode, so I can select a point on the screen which is on the y-axis. Press Enter to end the command. So those are the front view center lines. Now I'll double-click outside the viewport to get back to Paperspace. Then I'll move on to the right view. Now I'll activate this viewport and make the RSen layer current. Notice there is already a center line here. This is actually the same center line that I just created on the front view. I will still add a center line here, but it will be on the RSen layer. So I'll choose the line tool and enter the coordinate 0, -10. As I did before, I'll make it 40 units long. Then, I will use the center mark tool to add the last center line. At this point, I'll double-click to get back into Paperspace, and then Zoom Extents. Now, I will specify the visibility of the centerline layers for each viewport. I'll start with the top or T viewport. First, I'll make the 0 layer current. Then I'll turn off all the Sen layers other than T-Sen in this view. So F-Sen and R-Sen. Recall from a previous tutorial that this icon only controls the visibility within the active viewport. It is not a global control. Next, on the front view, I will turn off the R-Sen and T-Sen layers. Likewise, in the R viewport, R-Sen should be visible, but not F-Sen and T-Sen. In the isometric viewport, all of the Sen layers should be turned off. Now I'm almost ready to add dimensions. Before I do, I will lock the viewports. I will do this to avoid altering the view scale. Whenever a viewport is active, it is easy to change the scale using the zoom command. If I use zoom right now, the scale is no longer the same, and this view is no longer aligned with the one below. Now I'll undo that, and in order to prevent that from happening, I will change a property on all of the viewports. So I'll switch to Paperspace, select the viewport boundaries, and then select the properties icon. At the bottom, there is a Display Locked option. Right now, it's set to No. I'll change this to Yes, and then Close. Now when I zoom in and out within a viewport, AutoCAD switches to paper space. When I end the zoom command, it reverts back to model space. So that's a convenient option. Next, I need to modify the dimension style. This object is actually fairly large. It's at a 1:2 scale right now. When I add dimensions, they will appear quite small because they'll be at a different scale than the views themselves. To fix this, I'll open the Dimension Style Manager and select Modify. Under the Fit tab, I will change the scale for dimension features to the second option. Now, all the dimensions that we add will be scaled to the layout. In other words, to the viewport scale. So the dimensions will be the appropriate size. So I'll click OK, and then Close. Now I'll dock the Dimension toolbar. And at this point, I'm ready to add dimensions. I'll start with the top view. I'll use Zoom Window to get a closer look. Remember, the views are locked, so when I zoom in, I'm temporarily in paper space. Now I'm back in model space. I'll change the current layer to the TDIM layer, and this is where I'll create all of the top dimensions. First, I'll create a linear dimension for this plate. Then I'll add a diameter dimension for the holes. And then a couple of radius dimensions, one here, and another one for this radius. So that completes the dimensioning for this view. Now I will pan to the front view. I'll zoom out and now I need to increase the size of the viewport to fit the dimensions. So I'll switch to paper space and resize the viewport. Then I'll activate the viewport and set the layer to FDIM. And now I can proceed with adding dimensions. I'll add a linear dimension here, return to paper space, and then I'll use the Shade Plot option in the MView command for the isometric view. So type MView, S for Shade Plot, and then use the hidden option. H, enter. Now I'll select the isometric viewport and press enter. If you recall from a previous tutorial, this will guarantee that the isometric view is printed with the hidden lines removed. Now I'll turn off the viewports layer. I'll do this globally. And finally, look at a plot preview. As you can see, we have documentation for this particular part, including dimensions, center lines, and an isometric view, all to scale. This completes the tutorial on using paper space dimensioning in AutoCAD.